Namaskar dosto, good evening friends. I am Dr. Sanjay Kalra, your friendly and familiar endocrinologist, and you're watching Dr. KK's Med Talks. But आज एक twist है, today is Pharma Talks, and we'll be hosting this Pharma Talks with Dr. Sanjay Kalra show now. KK Med Talks का ये non-stop show का 847वां 847th episode है. And of course, it's the inaugural episode, the first episode of Pharma Talks. We are kickstarting a special series where we'll be inviting and we'll be speaking with leaders from the industry, from pharmaceutical, from medical technology, and we'll learn more about them and what they do for us. Let's talk about today's theme. India, जो हमारा देश है, we are known as the diabetes capital of the world. Do you know why? Let's see what the headlines are today. And the headlines will give us the answer. Now, India accounts for 17% of the total number of people living with diabetes in the world. ये तो burden है ही है, but हम इसको निभाते भी हैं. We have a burden on our shoulders and we have strong shoulders. We are the world's largest supplier of low-cost generics, of vaccines, and of affordable medicines. We rank 14th globally in terms of value, but third in terms of volume of medications produced. We are amongst the largest producer of drugs. We have the second largest number of FDA-approved medicine manufacturing plants. जिसका मतलब है कि हमारे जो प्लांट्स हैं दवाइयों के वो अकेले इंडिया को ही नहीं सर्व करते बट डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज को भी जैसे यूएसए को उनको भी सर्व करते हैं. Long ago, about 50 years ago in 1969, we had just a 5% share of the global world market. But now, that is, in India, things have changed and 85% of the market share is owned by Indian companies. Did you also know that 65% of the World Health Organization demand for DPT and BCG and 90% of the demand for measles vaccines is supplied by our country? And the market size is bound to increase. It is going to increase. It's going to reach USD 100 billion by the year 2025 for the pharma industry and 50 billion for the medical devices industry. अब इसके साथ अपना टॉपिक देखते हैं. Let's see what our topic is and why we've chosen that. We are called the diabetes capital of the world because we have close to 80 million citizens, fellow citizens living with the disease. This number is expected to increase to 135 million by 2045. मगर हम डायबिटीज कैपिटल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड नहीं बनना चाहते. हम बनना चाहते हैं डायबिटीज केयर कैपिटल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. We want to be known as the diabetes care capital of the world. And अपने गेस्ट को इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं, someone who is helping us achieve this aim. Warm welcome, Mr. Vikrant Shrotia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kalra. Pleasure to be here. 847th episode. That's a milestone, actually. I must congratulate.
We are going strong and we welcome you. We cannot, walk on this journey alone. तो Mr. Vikrant, एक गाना है उर्दू का, मंजिलें अपनी जगह, रास्ते अपनी जगह, मगर हम सफर वो अपनी जगह होती है, अपनी जगह होती है हम सफर की. तो welcome and thanks for being our travel companion on KK Med Talks and Pharma Talks.
Thank you very much. And I think from Novo Nordisk, for last 100 years, we are in this journey along with the medical professionals to change diabetes. And now actually we have also embarked into the area of obesity, both big metabolic disorders in non-communicable disease. And pleasure to be here, Doctor.
Thank you. Mr. Vikrant is CVP, Corporate Vice President and Managing Director at Novo Nordisk India. He has been in the pharmaceutical industry for 2 decades now. I think actually both of us entered the profession together on different sides of the table though. And he has worked in not only India, but also in Southeast Asia, the Gulf, and in Europe. He's worked in sales, in marketing, in business development, and in general management. So Mr. Shrotia has an overview, a very wonderful bird's eye view of the entire diabetes spectrum. Vikrantji, we are joined by Dr. Ramesh Pal Singh Pawar, sir, एक 72-year young pediatrician है सहारनपुर से, यूपी से. स्वप्ना जैन जी हैं वेल्लोर से, and Dr. Bhalchandra Meshram भी आपको वेलकम करते हैं. Would you like to talk about your history, how you joined education, joined the career, and Dr. Pawar is also from Western UP.
Right. No, for me, I have to admit that it was an accident in terms of getting into the healthcare space, into the pharmaceutical industry. But the moment actually when I joined this particular career, I think I found my purpose. And the moment I joined actually Novo Nordisk, this purpose got much more deeper in terms of working to change diabetes, working with an innovation company which has brought insulin into the world along with the other player, world renowned player. I think we have been working relentlessly for any innovation which has come in the insulin space along with the delivery devices. And you are aware that insulin is actually life saving, it is an essential medication, and without which probably how many casualties in the world would have happened. So I'm extremely proud of this accident of joining into the pharmaceutical industry, finding out my purpose. And though some of the people actually say we are the two sides of the coin, but I think I say the two sides of the coin, but we are the same currency, which actually working for a single purpose of changing diabetes and elevating the agony or basically development of the patient to have a better care.
तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें आ रही हैं मिस्टर श्रोत्रिया के ये अल्फाज से। अली नज़ाकत जी ने भी जॉइन किया हमें एंड डॉक्टर प्रदीप रावल इज़ विद अस फ्रॉम उज्जैन इन मध्य प्रदेश। एक तो एक फीलिंग आती है खुशी की, अकॉम्प्लिशमेंट की, कि मैंने एक चीज़ अचीव की और मैं बहुत खुश हूँ। एक और फीलिंग जो आती है मिस्टर विक्रांत के वर्ड से, वो आती है टीम वर्क की। वी आर द सेम करेंसी। कहीं पे भी हमें नहीं दिखाई दिया कि मैं सुपीरियर हूँ या मैं इन्फीरियर हूँ। और जो हमने बात की हमसफ़र की, वो बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग फीलिंग आ रही है कि हम सब हमसफ़र हैं और इकट्ठे एक मंज़िल की तरफ चल रहे हैं। And then he speaks of a purpose, a higher purpose, which is glucose control, diabetes control, alleviating the suffering and agony of people living with diabetes. So let's talk about this one by one. Mr. Vikrant, what is the impact of diabetes on the nation's economy, on the world's economy?
I think the impact is absolutely devastating. I think the kind of impact which metabolic disorders have got, which you will not even find in AIDS, tuberculosis, and many of the other infectious disease which are actually there. Often we say it is a time bomb which is clicking. The social impact is one side of it, the health impact is another side of it. But then the economic impact on the society is immense. It is actually said that the impact is to the tune of 15% of the GDP in terms of diabetes and obesity put together. We can actually, we actually sometimes say diabetes and obesity, but sometimes the doctor refers as diabetes as well together. You have to actually ask a patient how much their life gets affected when they have got diabetes in terms of going to the office, in terms of their efficiency, in terms of end stage complications which are actually there. And then it all results into some kind of economic or the money impact to individual, to society, and to the government. And every year when we calibrate the epidemiological study as well as the economic impact, it keeps on increasing. You will find that the epidemiology in India, what was there 20 years back and what was there 10 years back and what is there today, is so much increasing for diabetes. And same is the economic impact because diabetes is coming early and early in terms of the lifespan. It is actually coming at the stage of age 30, 35, and 40. And then person has to live a very compromised life.
Hmm. सो व्हेन वी आर कॉल्ड द डायबिटीज कैपिटल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, इसका इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है। जैसे विक्रांत जी ने कहा, एक तो सबकी सेहत पे, हेल्थ पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, सोशल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है, बट इकोनॉमिक इम्पैक्ट भी पड़ता है एट अ माइक्रो लेवल, मे बी एट द फैमिली which has to spend so much money on health care, especially complications of diabetes, complications of obesity, कि वो bankrupt हो जाते हैं। एंड एट अ लार्जर लेवल जो सोसाइटी या कंट्री है, बिकॉज हमारी इतनी सारी प्रोडक्टिविटी है, वो वेस्ट हो जाती है जस्ट ट्राइंग टू फाइट डायबिटीज एंड ओबेसिटी। सो ये तो हो गया जो इम्पैक्ट है, एंड वी डू नॉट वांट टू बी द डायबिटीज कैपिटल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। लेट्स टॉक अबाउट व्हाट वी वांट टू बी। हम कहते हैं कि वी वांट टू बी द डायबिटीज केयर कैपिटल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। तो ये आपके मन में क्या विजन आती है मिस्टर विक्रांत? व्हाट डू यू थिंक ऑफ, व्हाट डू यू ड्रीम ऑफ, व्हाट डू यू पिक्चराइज दैट वी आर द डायबिटीज केयर कैपिटल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड? व्हाट विल हैपन? विल एवरीवन स्टॉप हैविंग डायबिटीज एंड ओबेसिटी देन?
I don't think so that it is. We can see Envisage as a company. We can no, we cannot see that there is a cure in the sight for diabetes, just because of the genetic predisposition, the lifestyle, which is actually happening. And then, but what we really see is that the care is actually increasing many fold, both from the government end, the private parties, as well as from the pharmaceutical industry, and I would also say from the diagnostic capability point of view. Just see from the government how they have come up in terms of raising the infrastructure, the number of hospitals, the number of MD positions and the DM positions which are coming in the field of endocrinology have increased manifold. Come to the private practitioners. Many of the practitioners which were there actually at the periphery for diabetes treatment, you will find that today 70, 80,000 doctors across India are practicing diabetes. Come towards the pharmaceutical industry. There are now more than 500 companies participating in the space of diabetes. There are more than 2,000 options which we have got with the doctors in terms of treating diabetes. And then comes the innovation. The innovation has increased manifold from the company like ours, where the new generation insulins have come, the GLP-1s have come, the oral GLP-1s have come for the treatment of diabetes. And sorry, and many other options are actually coming. And likewise, from the diagnostic capability point of view, now it is so easy to get your HbA1c and the glucose test done at home that the treatment has actually increased manifold. And I echo your voice that we are actually on a journey towards from the diabetes capital of the world to a diabetes care capital of the world. What I actually say is having diabetes today is probably the part of the lifestyle, but control is actually in our hand. And then hopefully with these kind of an effort, this possibly will be achieved much more better.
तो एक तो नोट आ रहा है ऑप्टिमिज्म का कि एक्चुअली हम डायबिटीज कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। दूसरा realism. The plus thing is that we have good quality drugs, we have more number of manufacturers, we have better quality monitoring and screening devices. दूसरी तरफ एक और रियलिज्म का नोट जो आ रहा है, ऑप्टिमिज्म तो है, बट ये है कि ऐसा नहीं कि डायबिटीज गायब हो जाएगी, ओबेसिटी गायब हो जाएगी। कंट्रोल हमारे हाथ में और हमें वो कंट्रोल को इस्तेमाल करना है। वी नीड टू फुलफिल आवर रिस्पांसिबिलिटी व्हिच विल बी इन टर्म्स ऑफ सेल्फ केयर, सेल्फ मैनेजमेंट, लाइफस्टाइल मॉडिफिकेशन। विक्रांत जी, अनुराग तिवारी जी आपको नमस्कार कर रहे हैं, एडवोकेट मिश्रा जी राम राम जी कह रहे हैं, एंड एक गुड इवनिंग आ रही है विनय गुप्ता जी से, हु इज अ बिग फैन ऑफ योर्स।
Thank you very much.
So, lots of people logging in now, and we are speaking of our journey towards the diabetes care capital of the world. केदार जोशी जी भी लॉग्ड इन हैं और विक्रांत जी ने कहा कि हमारे पास अब दवाइयां भी अच्छी हैं, हमारे पास टेस्ट करने के औजार भी अच्छे हैं, एंड आई थिंक वी कैन रीच दैट फेज, द बीइंग द डायबिटीज केयर कैपिटल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। बट व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस व्हेन यू गो आउट इनटू द फील्ड? और आपने ऑफ कोर्स इंडिया तो एक्सपीरियंस किया ही है, बट यू हैव वर्कड इन सो मेनी अदर कंट्रीज एंड यू आर नोन एज बीइंग अ लीडर हु वर्क्स ऑन द ग्राउंड। मतलब इन जनरल जो मिस्टर श्रोत्रिया की जो पिक्चर है इंडस्ट्री में, वो ये है कि अपना कोट टाई उतार के बाजू की स्लीव्स फोल्ड करके वो पैदल चलने को तैयार हैं, चाहे वो करनाल हो चाहे कुरनूल हो। ही इज विलिंग टू गो ऑन द ग्राउंड, यू नो, लाइक वेरेवर द एक्शन इज, चुपचाप वहां चल जाते हैं। तो व्हाट डू यू सी ऑन द ग्राउंड? व्हाट आर द challenges? What are the obstacles and barriers towards us achieving this level of being known as the diabetes care capital of the world?
I think, the problem and the solutions, though look complicated and complex, are actually very simple. Dr. Saab, we call it a rule of half. So, अगर 100 लोगों को पता है कि डायबिटीज और 100 लोगों को डायबिटीज है, तो केवल 50 को पता है कि डायबिटीज एक्चुअली उनको है, 50 को पता भी नहीं है कि उनको डायबिटीज है। आउट ऑफ दैट 50, actually only another 50 are going for further treatment, or you can say going to the doctor. And then from that, further 50 are getting some kind of a good treatment. And then 50% are only getting optimum control. तो हमारे कैलकुलेशन के हिसाब से अगर 100 लोगों को डायबिटीज है तो 6.5% or 7% people are only getting a good outcome by which diabetes is controlled. And why this ignorance and why this casualness? Because डायबिटीज का रिजल्ट आज और कल नहीं आता है. Diabetes actually show off in terms of calamities after 5, 7 or 10 years with end stage complications. जब किडनी खराब हो जाती है, जब हार्ट के ऊपर असर पड़ता है, जब amputations होती हैं. And when these kind of a things come, then it is actually too late. So we say that, Dr. Saab, what you are doing with your 847th episode, awareness about diabetes, annual medical checkup after the age of 35, 40 for blood sugar, like for thyroid, is extremely important कि diabetes है कि नहीं है. होने में कोई बुराई नहीं है. I think these are part and parcel of the lifestyle. But to control is extremely important. More often, Doctor, we also see, and I have to say, actually, we market insulin. I have to say that one of the good treatments of insulin, many of the patients across India and also in the world, they delay and deny, which is called as insulin. And when it is delayed and denied, I think the control reaches to an uncontrolled stage, and more often the complications set in. So I think this rule of half has to be broken down if we have to transition from diabetes capital of the world to diabetes care capital of the world.
सो ये तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज कही एंड यू हैव टू स्टार्ट राइट एट द ग्रास रूट्स के पहले तो डायग्नोज करें कि डायबिटीज है, फिर उसका इलाज करें और फिर सही इलाज करें. WHO has laid down goals for 2030 and let's remind ourselves that tomorrow is World Diabetes Day and tomorrow is the 75th anniversary of World Health Organization. और कल की थीम जो है वर्ल्ड हेल्थ डे की, वर्ल्ड हेल्थ डायबिटीज डे नहीं, वर्ल्ड हेल्थ डे की, वो है हेल्थ फॉर ऑल. तो एक क्वेश्चन आ रहा है विनय गुप्ता जी से, हेल्थ फॉर ऑल की बात की जाएगी कल और उसके आगे भी. WHO ये कहता है दैट 80% ऑफ ऑल पीपल विद डायबिटीज मस्ट बी डायग्नोज्ड एंड 80% मस्ट बी ट्रीटेड इफेक्टिवली बाय द ईयर 2030. तो 50 से हम कम से कम 80 पे पहुंचे. बट एक क्वेश्चन जो आ रहा है वो आ रहा है विनय गुप्ता जी से, सर हाउ कैन वी ब्रिंग डाउन द ट्रीटमेंट कॉस्ट ऑफ डायबिटीज? Some of the medications for diabetes are quite expensive. For example, oral tablet semaglutide, which is a game changer in diabetes and obesity management.
Yeah. And I have to say that from the innovation point of view, when we as an innovative company work, there is a lot of investment which goes into the innovation to bring out the medication. But on the other side, there are so many economical options available for a better control, which can be achieved. And over a period of time, as Doc Saab has earlier talked about, we are actually the pharmacy of the world. There are 2,000 options which are available in India for the treatment. The whole objective is, even from Novo Nordisk, we have the option of insulin, which is less than 10 rupees a day in terms of the treatment. Can you imagine that it is actually less than a cost of a cup of coffee at a corner shop in Bangalore? And then we have got better options and much more better options, which are basically can also be evaluated for many of the patients. When you talk about semaglutide or oral semaglutide, you have to also imagine that in India, we are the fifth country to launch in India. India is a place where a motorbike is also available, but as a high-end car is also available for the treatment. So we want to provide an option. It's a wide spectrum. We want to provide an option which is option for all, and we call it insulin for all. And I can tell you that insulin should not be denied for anybody. It is one of the most cheaper option available for the treatment in India. But then we have also got the high end because we don't want to deprive the society for the space of innovation. Innovation today is going to be the treatment of mass tomorrow. So this is the start of the journey for semaglutide. When it gets into the journey of treatment for mass, I'm very sure that it will be accessible for many of the patients across India as well as the globe.
So point well taken. There are different options available and there is a wide variety in cost. But ये ज़रूर कहूँगा कि डायबिटीज़ का खर्चा, इलाज का खर्चा जितना भी हो, डायबिटीज़ की कॉम्प्लिकेशंस का जो खर्चा है, वो इससे 10 गुना, 20 गुना, 100 गुना ज़्यादा है. Let's take the example of someone.
Actually, I have to tell you that in the cost, first is the perception. What is the cost of a health? What is the cost of life? And that is the most primary thing which should come into the mind of the patients and also in the minds of the doctor. Sorry, doctor.
Yeah. तो अगर डायबिटीज हो गई, पहले तो प्रिवेंट हो जानी चाहिए थी यदि हम लाइफस्टाइल से ही फॉलो करते. प्रिवेंट ना भी होती तो डिले हो सकती थी. अब बहुत इजी है ये कहना कि जो भी मैंने किया, जो मैंने बर्गर खाए, जो मैंने एक्सरसाइज नहीं की, जो मैंने पिज्जा खाया, जो मैंने हेल्दी लाइफस्टाइल नहीं फॉलो किया, वो तो मेरा हक था. अब डायबिटीज ना होना वो भी मेरा हक है. सो यू कांट हैव बोथ थिंग्स टुगेदर. बट चलो डायबिटीज हो गई, यू कैन एटलीस्ट प्रिवेंट द कॉम्प्लिकेशंस बाय मैनेजिंग इट इन अ टाइमली मैनर. एंड जो भी दवाई इसमें लगती है, that is relatively less expensive as compared to what will happen if supposing somebody gets kidney disease or heart disease or stroke. तो फिर तो बहुत ज्यादा खर्चा बढ़ जाता है and complications भी बढ़ती हैं. Lots of questions coming in and I would like to welcome Dr. N.S. Sharda sir. Mr. Vikrant, Sharda sir is very senior physician from Ahmedabad. He sends you his blessings.
Thank you very much.
रचना कपूर जी जो क्वेश्चन पूछ रही हैं, we have handled many times in KK Med Talks. दोबारा हैंडल कर लेंगे later on complications. Dr. Vipin Bhandula is civil surgeon in Kangra district in Himachal Pradesh. He sends you his greetings and he will share his perspectives. He is a health administrator, so he has to juggle with a limited budget. So multiple challenges उसमें भी आते हैं डायबिटीज कंट्रोल में. लवलीन मरजारा जी आपको गुड इवनिंग कर रही हैं. जीडी क्रिएशन साहब पूछते हैं, सर इज देयर एनी करंट रिसर्च गोइंग ऑन इन योर कंपनी और एल्सवेयर अबाउट प्रिवेंशन ऑफ डायबिटीज और क्योर ऑफ डायबिटीज?
Absolutely. Actually, this is a dream, though we actually sell, market, and commercialize many of the options for diabetes treatment. But let me honestly tell you that our CEO and our founders actually dream about that can we get the cure for diabetes. There are many research which are actually getting into the space, whether it is gene therapy, whether it is cell transplant. There are multiple areas. It's not only within Novo Nordisk, but wherever it is happening, we are keeping an eye and we are watching it. We have done many of the acquisition in this space, mRNA interface technology. These are some of the scientific platforms, and these are called scientific platforms on which we have been working to find solution. But one of the solutions which we are actually working, which you might see in 2025, is once a week insulin. And insulin is basically in the treatment should be given early when the control is not achieved. More often, it is not accepted by the patients, and sometimes even it is delayed by the doctors because it is not acceptable because of daily injection and multiple injection. We are working on an insulin which can be given once a week. I think that will be a breakthrough. We are also working basically on insulin which is going to be glucose centric insulin. So when the glucose is higher, then the insulin will work. When the glucose is lower, insulin will not work. So some of these areas Novo Nordisk is actually working, and hopefully some of these scientific breakthrough I will at least see in my career.
So if Mr. Vikrant will see in his career, then I am confident I'll see it in mine as well. And Vinay Gupta ji continue करते हैं. आपने बात की of once a week insulin. Do you have any drugs which can be used once a week for the management of obesity as well?
We do have got drugs which are once a week for obesity. We have not launched it in India, and you might see the launch somewhere in 25 or 26, which is actually there in the US and only couple of European countries, at least in Denmark, which is country of origin from where we belong to. So I hope and wish that once a week for obesity treatment also comes to India.
Seema ji भी logged in है. She is a patient health advocate from Kolkata. And along with Chandrasekhar Harinarayan ji, they ask, ये धारणा है, people assume that once I develop diabetes, and there are different types of diabetes, so let us focus on type 2 diabetes alone, जो सबसे common है इंडिया में. Does it mean that I will certainly 100% have to go on insulin? What is your take on this?
I'm not a doctor, to be honest, but I can actually tell from my personal experience, which I have seen in my family, that a lifestyle has got also a very strong play in management of diabetes along with diet. And of course, getting on to the doctor, coming across and getting a physician advice what the treatment should be, very, very important, along with diagnostic, that means monitoring. So getting the blood glucose check is extremely important. I would not say that whether to go on insulin or not. I think the most important part is to control your sugar. And when it is not getting controlled, at that point of a time, if insulin is advised, please take it. That time, do not deny. There are many patients who can do very good without insulin, but then there are many patients who should be taking insulin from the day one. So one rule doesn't apply to all.
Let me take a question from Ashok Sahib and Satyendra ji, Ashok Sahib, Mahima Gupta ji सब ये questions पूछ रहे हैं. Also Mr. मान सिंह जो कि industry leader हैं हरियाणा से in the diabetes and obesity space. So the question is, can a patient on treatment with insulin be controlled and can he regain control with oral drugs? मैं अशोक जी इसका जवाब देने की कोशिश करता हूँ. हमारे जो यंगर डॉक्टर्स हैं एंड खासकर जो जनरल पब्लिक है, जब आप गाइडलाइंस पढ़ते हैं, वो गाइडलाइंस लिखी जाती हैं बाहर के देशों में, पश्चिमी देशों में. The people who are writing the guidelines assume that the healthcare ecosystem is very well planned. They assume कि जो शुगर वाला मरीज है वो पहले दिन अस्पताल में आया, उसी इकोसिस्टम में, उसी हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम में कंटिन्यूअसली वो चलता रहेगा उसी डॉक्टर के साथ. तो धीरे-धीरे दवाई बढ़ती जाएगी. So when you read the guidelines, you are told that initially you try lifestyle, metformin, other drugs, and then finally you go on insulin. This is called a gradually escalating kind of a treatment plan. इंडिया में ज्यादातर ऐसा नहीं चलता. इंडिया में लोग हमारे पास कब आते हैं? कॉम्प्लिकेशन के साथ. So they will come when they are sick, when they are symptomatic, when they are severely hyperglycemic, when they have severely high levels of glucose, when they are in special situations, which can be kidney disease, liver disease, maybe pregnancy, lactation, और they will come for surgery कि डॉक्टर साहब मेरे को आंखों का ऑपरेशन कराना है अगले हफ्ते, बैसाखी से पहले करवाना चाहता हूँ, आप मेरी शुगर ठीक कर दें. So when the patient is sick, symptomatic, severely hyperglycemic, in a special situation or planning surgery, then you have to give insulin. तो इंसुलिन हमेशा नहीं देना पड़ेगा. You give insulin, you correct something known as glucotoxicity. जो ग्लूकोज ने, हाई शुगर ने पॉइजन वाला काम कर रखा है शरीर में, शरीर के हर एक अंग को और खून की नसों की दीवारों को, हमारी धमनियों की इंटरनल लाइनिंग को, एंडोथेलियम को खराब कर रखा है, उसको आप ठीक कर दें. When you are able to give rest to the body, तो वापस गाड़ी ठीक हो जाती है. And you can come back to tablets. अब अगर तो 10 या 20 साल से पुअरली कंट्रोल डायबिटीज चल रही है, तो फिर तो इंसुलिन लंबी देर देना पड़ेगा बिकॉज गाड़ी की सर्विस नहीं हो पाएगी. मगर अगर सिर्फ 4, 6, 8 महीने से 1 साल से शुगर आउट ऑफ कंट्रोल थी, आपके पास एक रीजन भी है, यू कैन फाइंड द रीजन. इट इज अ मेडिकल रीजन, a surgical or a psychological reason, you fix that up, you can get the patient back into control with oral drugs. So it will vary from patient to patient. एक और क्वेश्चन आ रहा है एंड दिस इज फ्रॉम डॉक्टर उत्सव साहू एंड अगेन फ्रॉम मिस्टर मान सिंह. Sir, we have a challenge. Dr. Utsav, Mr. Vikrant is a senior diabetologist from South Delhi. How can we prevent our fellow citizens from getting misguided? In the capital city, we have large hoardings and we have full first page ads in the newspapers saying follow a different school of science or health, which itself is not able to measure glucose values. Glucose नापनी नहीं आती उस स्कूल ऑफ साइंस को. Follow different science, stop insulin, cure diabetes. What answer would you have to these people, to the people who are placing the ads and to those who are reading the ads?
I can only say that, these kind of misguided advertisement should be stopped in India. I also feel the medical body should actually come together to fight against these misguided advertisements which are floating around. Our company is actually 100 years old. There is a research and development which is happening. I can say that 15%, up to 15% of our revenue, which is it's a large company, more than 10,000 scientists are working to find better and better solution, better and better insulin. And then somebody tries to discredit the value of insulin in such a simple way. I think I think the only way is to get more information and also fighting against these misguided advertisement which are going across. While on the other side, I do agree that alternative therapy, Ayush, in India has a space which is part and parcel of the lifestyle correction, if you really see in a broader aspect. But overall, in the treatment space, I think people should go to the qualified doctor, get to the right diagnosis, get to the treatment which are much more profound, which are clinically proven, and which are basically endorsed by the medical body.
मैं भी यही चीज कहूंगा एंड आई वुड लाइक टू ऐड माय वॉइस टू व्हाट मिस्टर विक्रांत हैज सेड. I respect Ayurveda. There is a concept of integrative medicine. I strongly am in favor of that. I edit a newsletter known as Aloveda, and it is one of Vikrant. It is one of the toughest academic endeavors I've had to take care of. It is actually very tough क्योंकि सब चीजें पढ़नी पड़ती हैं. ये भी कहूंगा कि without knowing about a particular field of science or anything, you should not comment on it. So let me talk about what I know of Ayurveda. आई नो कि उनका जो स्ट्रक्चर है क्लासिफिकेशन का, दैट इज अ ब्यूटी फॉर द आईज. मतलब जिन्होंने भी स्ट्रक्चर बनाया ना आयुर्वेद पढ़ने का, विदाउट लैपटॉप्स, विदाउट इंटरनेट, विद मे बी मिनिमम बुक्स एंड पेंसिल्स, आई डोंट नो वो कैसे लिखते होंगे उस टाइम पे, कैसी स्याही यूज होती होगी. दैट स्ट्रक्चर इज सो इजी. वंस यू अंडरस्टैंड इट, यू डोंट हैव टू क्रैम. इट कम्स ऑटोमेटिकली. दैट इज द बिगेस्ट ब्यूटी. The second beauty is the focus on lifestyle optimization for everybody, whether they are talking of preventing obesity and diabetes or whether they are speaking of enhancing longevity. There is a very welcome focus on lifestyle modification. Another good thing is teamwork. हालांकि of course when the Sanskrit gets translated into English थोड़ी सी गड़बड़ भी होती है, but you see that there is something known as Atreya's quadruple. तो Atreya's quadruple क्या कहता है कि 4 चीजें चाहिए in order to achieve therapeutic outcomes, which is the doctor, the patient, the drug and the attendant. इसी को ही हम टीम वर्क कहते हैं मॉडर्न डायबिटीज में. वी हैव जस्ट चेंज द टर्मिनोलॉजी. तो ये सब चीजें हैं बहुत अच्छी. मगर जब आप चरक संहिता पढ़ते हैं तो वहां पे लॉर्ड अत्रेया जो हैं, जब आपस में वो डिस्कशन करते हैं, तब भी वो बात करते हैं बिवेयर ऑफ द रॉन्ग टेक्स्ट, बिवेयर ऑफ रॉन्ग पीपल. तो यही चीज कहेंगे, आयुर्वेद खुद कहती है बिवेयर ऑफ रॉन्ग पीपल. अब जो आयुर्वेद के टाइम पे 5,000 साल पहले जो केमिस्ट्री की जानकारी थी, बायोकेमिस्ट्री की, फार्माकोलॉजी की जानकारी थी, उस हिसाब से बेस्ट दवाई बनाई गई. अब जानकारी बेटर है तो सर्टनली दवाई बेटर बनानी चाहिए, बेटर यूज करनी चाहिए. आई एम वेरी श्योर चरक या अत्रेया अगर खुद आज हों धरती पे, वो खुद कहेंगे कि आप मॉडर्न मेडिसिन इस्तेमाल करें. एंड दे विल कीप ऑन रिमाइंडिंग अस ऑफ द बेसिक्स. मॉडर्न मेडिसिन इस्तेमाल करें, मगर सही डॉक्टर के पास जाके सही एजुकेशन लेके. एक और जो बहुत मजेदार बात है कि व्हेन यू रीड चरक संहिता, तो यू फाइंड, लेट्स डू दिस इन अ लाइटर वेन विक्रांत, एंड प्रॉमिस नॉट टू स्माइल प्लीज. ऐसा क्यों होता है मेरे शो पे, जब भी मैं कहता हूँ प्लीज स्माइल, प्लीज डोंट स्माइल, तब लोग स्माइल कर देते हैं. व्हाई डज दैट हैपन विक्रांत? तो
I think it is an
चरक
immediate response. Yeah.
सो चरक संहिता में वो इतने पेज डालते हैं टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ अ डॉक्टर शुड बिहेव, हाउ अ मेडिकल स्टूडेंट शुड बिहेव, व्हाट इज द स्टाइल ऑफ एजुकेटिंग. वो अब हमारा नेशनल मेडिकल कमीशन कर रहा है. सो अब नेशनल मेडिकल कमीशन ने गाइडलाइंस निकाली दैट दिस इज हाउ डॉक्टर्स हैव टू बिहेव, दिस इज हाउ मेडिकल स्टूडेंट्स हैव टू बिहेव. So for all this, we are grateful to Ayurveda. It is just that they wrote it in Sanskrit and now NMC is writing it in English. इतना ही फर्क है, चीजें वही हैं. तो मिस्टर विक्रांत, आज NMC का जो है उसमें एक चीज है कि when doctors hold their meetings, we should avoid tobacco, we should avoid physical inactivity, and we should take healthy food and we should avoid alcohol. So what's your take on that? And you promise not to smile.
I think I completely agree. There is no reason not to agree on this, and this is a very welcome change. And we don't endorse, these kind of a thing because doctors are seen as the trendsetters. People look
Role
upon them,
models.
their lifestyle. And when doctors set an example to the larger population and their patients, I think, show not tell. I think it is showing not telling that becomes extremely important for the larger population. And from the pharmaceutical industry, I think we welcome this.
एंड जो एनएमसी ने लिखा इंग्लिश में, वही चीज चरक संहिता में लिखी हुई है. सो फॉर ऑल दैट गाइडेंस वी रिस्पेक्ट आयुर्वेद. And like I said, had the leaders of Ayurved been alive today, they themselves would have said that you should accept insulin. अब इंसुलिन 5,000 साल पहले कैसे बनती? ना हमारे पास वो औजार थे, ना वो तकनीक थी, ना पता था कि इंजेक्शन कैसे दिए जाते हैं. The only way of making a formulation was with honey or with butter. So you see, all those challenges were there, which were faced by our forefathers in Ayurveda, and we don't have them now. If we understand this, and then we begin speaking with our patients, our population about this, then I think we can answer Dr. Utsav's question. It is always a challenge to convince our patients, I fully agree, to follow evidence-based medicine, yes, to prepare them to accept insulin, to overcome all their doubts, hearsay and misunderstandings. So इस चीज को या तो हम एक्सेप्ट करें ही ना, and we say that somebody else will do it, या हम एक्सेप्ट कर लें. So now we accept the challenge as healthcare providers, as healthcare professionals. अब विक्रांत जी ने ये भी कहा था कि we have the same currency, we are working together. So let's ask Mr. Vikrant, how you look after Novo Nordisk India, and of course that is a commercial organization. But what about patient education, advocacy? What is the work that your organization is doing in this field?
I think the first of all, Doctor, I can actually tell you the patient centricity is the most important thing on which this entire pharmaceutical company, Novo Nordisk, is actually circling around. Patient is at the center of our heart. While on one side, we being in pharmaceutical industry, at least in India, we are not we are not allowed in terms of a direct contact to the patient. But on the other side, we work with healthcare professionals like you to ensure and to see that we become part and parcel of providing the best education material and best patient education support.
So while we wait for Mr. Vikrant to join back, I think there is a connection issue. Dr. Vipin Vandula says, and rightfully so, that non-pharmacological measures do help to a lot of extent. So that is the first line therapy for diabetes and obesity. In diabetes, our first line therapy is lifestyle modification. In obesity, first line therapy को लिखा जाता है intensive behavioral therapy. अब नॉन फार्माकोलॉजिकल मेजर्स हम बताते भी हैं, करते भी हैं. आई माई सेल्फ एज अ ह्यूमन बीइंग, एज समबडी लिविंग विद ओबेसिटी, डायबिटीज नहीं है मुझे बट ओबीस तो हूँ. आई डू ट्राई माई बेस्ट टू मैनेज माई बिहेवियर, टू फॉलो एन हेल्दी लाइफ स्टाइल, बट इट इज क्वाइट डिफिकल्ट, इट इज चैलेंजिंग. मैं अगर अपनी बात करूं तो जब मैं घर पे होता हूं तो आई फॉलो अ वेरी स्ट्रिक्ट सॉर्ट ऑफ लाइफ स्टाइल. बट व्हेन आई ट्रैवल, एंड आई हैव टू ट्रैवल फ्रीक्वेंटली, व्हेन आई ट्रैवल कई बार अपनी मर्जी नहीं चलती. मतलब वेजिटेरियन भी हैं, नमक भी नहीं खाना, ये भी करना, वो भी नहीं करना, तो इतने सारे नखरे हो जाते हैं डाइट के कि कभी-कभी गड़बड़ हो जाती है. सो नॉन फार्माकोलॉजिकल मेजर्स डू हेल्प एंड वी मस्ट कंटिन्यू देम. बट एक और चीज बताऊंगा कि ऑल डायबिटीज इज नॉट ओबीज. यदि ये चीज कहना चाहूंगा, आई वुड लाइक टू रिपीट दिस अगेन एंड अगेन. इफ यू हैव अ पर्सन विद टाइप 2 डायबिटीज एंड ओबेसिटी, वहां पे आप कैलोरीज कम करेंगे, रिस्ट्रिक्टिव मेजर्स लाएंगे. बट इफ यू हैव अ पर्सन हु इज लीन एंड थिन, type 2 diabetes, somebody who has type 1 diabetes, someone with pancreatic diabetes, somebody with gestational diabetes, pregnancy है, वहां पे कैलोरीज कम ना करें, वहां पे कैलोरीज भी पूरी दें और इंसुलिन भी पूरी दें. मतलब यूं सोचे कि आपने गेहूं उगानी है या जीरी या चावल उगाने हैं, कोई भी पेड़ पौधा उगाना है. अगर आप उसको खाद ही ना डालें, खाना ही ना खिलाएं, उसके बाद आप बोलें 3-6 महीने के बाद कि देखो जी मैंने खाद के इतने पैसे बचा लिए, बट इसमें कोई इट डजंट मेक सेंस, बिकॉज आपका पौधा भी नहीं उगने लगा. सो इफ इट इज टाइप 1 डायबिटीज, पैंक्रियाटिक डायबिटीज, डायबिटीज एंड प्रेगनेंसी, diabetes in children or very elderly जो वैसे ही पतले हैं, then you give adequate food and you give adequate insulin along with it. But यदि कोई type 2 diabetes है who is obese or overweight, then you will try to give relatively less medication and focus more on non-pharmacological measures. एक और non-pharmacological measure है, that is sleep hygiene, and that is something we should focus on. We acknowledge the questions from Vinay Gupta ji and Bishwajit Haldar ji. When will semaglutide become cheaper? तो इसका जवाब जब वापस आते हैं मिस्टर विक्रांत तो तब देते हैं. People fear the side effects of drugs. That is true, and usually this fear is because of it is like fear of the unknown. Ignorance breeds fear. And दूसरा issue क्या है कि if you fear a side effect, you will go to a doctor, right, to ask, or to a pharmacist. The doctor may or may not be aware, but usually in a busy OPD, the doctor will brush it away. ये कुछ नहीं होता मैडम, इसकी आप चिंता ना करो. But that is not enough. The doctor should ideally explain कि क्यों आप चिंता ना करो. And वो कभी-कभी busy OPD में बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है करना. That is the challenge. Another thing I would speak on behalf of all doctors is कि जब आप diabetes का इलाज कर रहे हैं या obesity का, so you keep on repeating the same thing over and over again, and then after some time you get into something called compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue means कि आप थक जाते हैं वही चीज repeat करते-करते. So that also does happen. So do be kind to your doctor as well, because देखो ना 10 जो उनके colleague हैं जो western countries में हैं, वो दिन में 10 या 12 से ज्यादा patient नहीं देखते. और यहाँ पे having to see maybe patients in 3 digits, that is not uncommon. There will be many people who will be seeing 100 patients a day. So उनको भी थकावट हो जाती है. And मरीज भी जब बाकी चीजें नहीं मानेंगे, so in my OPDC, I will tell them कि घी मक्खन मलाई कम खाएं. So now I said it in Hindi. I assume that I have passed on the message. Next time patient will come back and say कि जी घी मक्खन मलाई तो हम बिल्कुल नहीं खाते, मगर परोठे हाँ वो तो जी आपने खाए थे, हमने खाए थे, तो क्यों खाए थे, वो तो आपने मना नहीं किया. तो how is the paratha cooked without ghee? That I am not able to understand. और आपने घी मक्खन मलाई बंद की थी, मगर आपने तेल तो मना नहीं किया था, तो हल्दीराम का नमकीन तो मैं 1 किलो का पैकेट खा गया. So these kind of things do irritate at times towards the end of the OPD. Mr. Vikrant, lots of questions coming in for you, and thanks for joining us again. Mr. Man Singh says, what are the other strengths that the pharmaceutical industry should sort of deploy to help doctors help their patients? And the concept that the talk that is going on is people resist insulin. People are afraid of the side effects of insulin.
Right. And I think, first of all, we have to play the part what we are supposed to play from the pharmaceutical industry. Doctors play their part. We have a responsibility to discover, develop, produce, and commercialize new and novel molecules. And Dr. Sanjay Kalra, you actually alluded and you talked about how the old medicine becomes irrelevant in the new world. And we find it very relevant when we see the consumer product like mobile, old mobile to new mobile, old cars to new car, old bikes to new bike, old houses to new houses. So I think one of the important thing where a pharmaceutical industry can help doctor is coming out with novel and molecules which can be easily prescribed, which are more efficacious with lesser and lesser side effects, and also which are accessible and commercially viable for patients in terms of the treatment. Second is imparting the right education about the new science which is emerging. I think we feel responsible from pharmaceutical industry also to work on the new science and to share that knowledge with the doctors. Of course, we don't do it directly on a CME platform, but the way we do it actually through the scientific journal, reaching out to doctors, talking about it, and also disseminating information like these kind of webinars which are there, and supporting some of the scientific platform for the advocacy of the information. So I think these are the ecosystem. And the third thing which we are also working, Doc Saab, is in the digital space. We are also trying to work empowering doctors. We call it actually the last D, diagnosis. Along with the diagnosis, digital and data is also becoming extremely important, which we are working with the doctors to empower, to share the knowledge so that the treatment can be much more easier and patients can get better control.
So thanks for all that support. Digital diagnosis, ये चीजें भी हैं, and also dialogue between the pharma industry and doctors, dialogue between the pharma industry and doctors as well as the general public. तो जब ये dialogue create होता है, and that is what we are doing on Pharma Talks today. जब ये dialogue create होता है तो each and everyone gets to know कि एक दूसरे की ज़रूरतें क्या हैं. तो अब रमेश पाल सिंह पवार सर का जो था मेटफॉर्मिन ग्लिमिप्राइड 1 tablet a day, sir, if fasting glucose is 110 and I know that your HbA1c is normal, then we can actually continue the same medication. Biswajit Halzar ji कहते हैं, do a session for IBS, that is inflammatory bowel syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, तो वो भी सर जरूर कर लेंगे. एक क्वेश्चन आ रहा है विक्रांत जी आपके लिए, and now you are allowed to smile. So आर्टिस्ट रिया जी पूछती हैं आपसे, how do you manage work-life balance? You have such a difficult and challenging job, and you have to look after family as well. So how are you able to manage that? थोड़े से वो टिप्स दे दें, सीक्रेट्स बता दें.
Yeah, see, for me, I think health is the number one priority. And in Hindi, it is also called as Pehla Sukh Nirogi Kaya. Okay. And Duja Sukh Ghar Mein Ho Maya. So I think health has to be become a priority in life. Time is the ultimate currency, but I say that health is the ultimate currency. So come what may, I keep my lifestyle despite series of meetings, back to back working. I just make sure that 1 hour I am doing some active lifestyle, whether it is sports, running, and also being cautious what I am eating. And I think and being happy, you have actually pointed out many times you are smiling. So being also happy, so these are the things which actually work against or which work to handle the stress and also give you a healthy lifestyle.
And Ria, thanks for raising that question. एक और चीज point out करूंगा. See what Mr. Vikrant said right at the beginning. Purpose. I feel that I have achieved a higher purpose by coming into this space. ऐसे लगता है कि it was by accident, but now I'm happy that I'm able to contribute to the well-being of people. इसको जापानीज में इकिगाई कहते हैं. तो if Mr. Vikrant has found his ikigai, जो वो नौकरी करते हैं, काम करते हैं, वही उनका पैशन है. तो फिर उनको थकावट होएगी नहीं. And that is what keeps most doctors going as well. Sir, a question here. This is from national industry leader, Mr. Amit Bhakri from Bangalore. And he says, what else can we do as the pharmaceutical industry so that we can encourage people to intervene early, intervene in a timely manner? Let's take the example. So, Amit Bhakri ji to hai from the cardiometabolic space. Around 70 years ago, IIM Calcutta, tab Calcutta naam tha, they started a campaign on family planning. एंड दे फेस्ड सच रेजिस्टेंस जब वो कैलकाटा में रिटेलर्स के पास जाते थे कि आप कॉन्डम्स स्टॉक कर लें, तो वायलेंस होती थी. ये अश्लील माना जाता था. द फैक्ट दैट यू आर जस्ट स्पीकिंग अबाउट दिस, अबाउट कॉन्डम्स और फैमिली प्लानिंग, एंड देन यू आर आस्किंग समबडी टू स्टॉक देम इन द शॉप. फिर उन्होंने एक सोशल मार्केटिंग कैंपेन चलाया. And now you see that on mainstream Indian television, these advertisements, they come on prime time. And nobody is bothered about whether men or women are watching or boys or girls are watching. So itna acceptance ho gaya society mein. If the family planning people are able to do this, if the polio vaccine people are able to get everybody vaccinated in the country, and we are able to eradicate polio, what can we as pharma industry do to ensure that people take good quality medications, originator medications, in a timely manner?
On one side, I'm not somebody, though I am from multinational, you know, India has got a distinction where we have got the highest number of approved US FDA plants outside of the US. So there are a lot of Indian companies which are producing high quality medication. But of course, when it comes to the originator, there is an ensurement of quality which is also established, already established. So I would say that the whole campaign around to take the quality medication is extremely important. And I think along with the government and pharmaceutical industry, we are working to make sure that the quality medication gets disbursed and also the counterfeits are stopped, if your question is into that direction of quality medication. And then there are various mechanisms by which, the barcoding, serializations, which are actually coming in the industry, which probably will stop some of the counterfeit drugs which are actually coming into the space. India is a large country. It is becoming extremely difficult to stop, but I'm very sure with some of these measures, it can be stopped. And this is what something pharmaceutical industry can take a step forward to participate in that, and is to stop that particular parallel kind of industry which is running a little bit unregulated.
So maybe more teeth to our regulators and also more awareness, so that the end consumer. And Seema ji Kolkata se कहती हैं that I do my bit, and thank you madam for having done that. When you empower homemakers, when you educate them, you are actually helping, and आप भी एक बहुत important हमसफर हो जाते हैं in the journey towards national health, towards becoming the diabetes care capital of the world. So we educate, we empower, and we ensure that people are able to understand the difference between good quality and bad quality. Barcoding, for example, technology. And Mr. Vikrant, would you like to talk about your insulins? How can we make sure कि ये एक particular insulin आई मेरे पास, ये genuine है कि नहीं, और ये cold chain में रहते हुए आई है मेरे पास करनाल तक? Is there a mechanism of finding that out?
At this point of a time, of course, the batch number which is there is a mechanism by which, we can come to know whether it is a genuine or not. And let me tell you, under the pharmacovigilance, we get many of the queries around it, and we have pledged ourselves to resolve those queries within 24 hours. And most of the patients, we are able to provide them the answers, what kind of a fault, if at all, it is there in the medication or not. In the space of insulin, I would say the counterfeits are far more lesser than in many other areas, because it is a liquid, and we have got a pilfer proof cap. To give a short answer, we have got a pilfer proof cap, which is extremely difficult to copy if you see Novo Nordisk insulin. And that is something and a mechanism by which one can ensure that it is a genuine medication. But there are many other things which we are working on to make sure that even in future this continues.
एंड डॉक्टर शारदा सर का क्वेश्चन था अबाउट नेशनल मेडिकल काउंसिल एंड अल्कोहल. तो सर उन्होंने क्या कहा है कि जब सीएमईज होती हैं, कॉन्फ्रेंसेस होती हैं, तो डॉक्टर्स मे कंसिडर नॉट टेकिंग अल्कोहल एज पार्ट ऑफ द सीएमई बिकॉज इट इज नॉट healthy and it doesn't set the right precedent for others. So like Mr. Vikrant, I would also support the NMC in that. NMC doesn't say that, doesn't come into your drawing rooms or into your kitchens and tell you what to do, what not to do. They just remind you what is healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely.
मिस्टर विक्रांत, एक सलाम आ रही है आपको फ्रॉम अफगानिस्तान, फ्रॉम डॉक्टर नूर आगा दानिश. तो वो आपको सलाम कर रहे हैं. एंड डॉक्टर दानिश, रमजान करीम. डॉक्टर दानिश asks, in your role, and also because you are closely involved with organizations like the World Diabetes Foundation and NNEF, uh, is there a special focus on countries which are passing through a difficult phase? And how is Novo Nordisk able to ensure that its insulin reaches the needy people there?
Absolutely. I think whenever there is a call for action into the crisis, Novo Nordisk has always come forward. Like, I can give you many examples. Take the example of COVID. During COVID, Novo Nordisk invested 10 million. It's not invested, donated actually 10 million DKK. And in fact, from our own affiliate, that means country office, we gave close to 5 million DKK to different state governments, as well as by the Novo Nordisk Foundation, 10 million DKK to established hospital. We have got NNEF Education Foundation, by which we are taking care of juvenile diabetics, that means type 1 diabetics, not for 1 year, 2 years, but for more than 10 years, free insulin, and now even the monitoring for 6,000 patients. And also, let me tell you, just 2 days back on Monday, Novo Nordisk Foundation has given a press release for their commitment up to 2030 for an investment up to 1,000 crores, almost 1 billion DKK, in terms of India and East Africa at the primary care for non-communicable diseases. And that's a very, very strong commitment. coming from Novo Nordisk. So this foundation work, which is getting around, and not only in the space of patients, in the space for doctors, in the space along with the community, we are trying to take care that 360-degree we can work along and help patients who need it, whether because of natural calamity, but also because of emerging economies because they require our extra support. And
So
that
this is
goes even with Afghanistan. To give an example, like in Turkey, with this earthquake, we actually pledged together close to 25 or 30 million DKK to the affected areas. And which is 30 million DKK is almost like 30 crore.
30 crore Indian rupees.
Yes.
So thank you for that. And Dr. Noor, we wish you all the best. And of course, Mr. Vikrant represents Novo Nordisk India. But if there is anything that you want specific help with, do reach out to us. And I think we should be able to assist. एक क्वेश्चन सीमा जी का आता है और ये मैं लेता हूँ. मेटफॉर्मिन एक्चुअली डज रिड्यूस द एब्जॉर्प्शन ऑफ विटामिन B12 अगर लंबी देर के लिए लें, अगर ज्यादा डोज लें. एंड दिस इज अ मेजर प्रॉब्लम इन वीगन्स, पीपल हु आर वेजिटेरियन एंड हु आल्सो डू नॉट टेक मिल्क प्रोडक्ट्स. तो इसमें कभी कभी विटामिन B12 एक्स्ट्रा देना पड़ता है. वन वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट इट इज सभी को B12 देने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, मगर किसी को अनीमिया हो, मेगैलोब्लास्टिक अनीमिया, दैट मींस अनीमिया भी है, हीमोग्लोबिन कम है और आयरन की कमी नहीं है, रेड ब्लड सेल्स का साइज बड़ा है, it's easy to make out from the hemogram, then vitamin B12 and folic acid should be given. दूसरा, अगर किसी को न्यूरोपैथी है, नर्व्स में नमनेस, नर्व्स में टिंगलिंग या पेन, तो भी हमें विटामिन B12 देना चाहिए. It's nearly 8 p.m. and I know Mr. Vikrant you have a busy schedule and फिर आर्टिस्ट रिया ने भी कहा था कि you should take that 1 hour out every day for exercise and for family. But विनय गुप्ता जी का एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन लेते हैं. प्राइस रेगुलेशन काफी stringent है इंडिया में. There is a drug price control. So are some of your insulins under the drug price control?
Absolutely, absolutely. Human insulin in the wild is in price control and one of the most economical option for the people who want and need insulin. It is actually it is like very less cost, less than 10 rupees per day.
एक आप भी यूपी से हैं तो एक उर्दू में कहावत है, पैसे बचाएं अशर्फियां लुटाएं. तो ये तो हमने ऑलरेडी बात कर ली कि अगर आप इंसुलिन पे या डायबिटीज की दवाई के पैसे बचाएंगे तो कल को अशर्फियां खर्चनी पड़ेंगी किडनी या हार्ट की दवाई के लिए. मगर कंपेयर करेंगे क्या मिस्टर विक्रांत? वुड यू वांट टू कंपेयर द प्राइस ऑफ इकोनॉमिकल ह्यूमन इंसुलिन इन इंडिया with the price that our friends have to pay in neighboring countries, maybe US, Europe, the Gulf and South Asia? कितना price differential है?
I think when it comes to human insulin, India is one of the places where it is at the rock bottom in terms of the prices. So just to let you know that we say that India is emerging and India is the world power as well as economic power. But on the other side, we are offering our insulin at, at a very low end of the pricing. And if I have to compare, like in the US, I would guess that at least it is 25 to 30 times more costly than in India. And likewise, even in Gulf and many other places across Europe. When it comes to the new generation of the products, I would say that we keep the same pricing across all the countries because these are the latest innovation and they are referred from one country to another, and we would like to stop any kind of a parallel export from one country to another country. So there is a bandwidth under which we keep it under the uniform pricing.
So thanks for that, and thanks for reminding us that actually we are blessed in the sense that the basic essential drugs, life-saving drugs, are really economical for us in our country. Lots of comments coming in, and Swapna Jain ji ka comment leta hu before we conclude. Today's session has been very inspiring and informative and interesting. So thank you, Mr. Vikrant, for making it very interesting.
Thank you very much, and thanks a lot for inviting me to this Madden, pharma talk. And I think, this just gives me a feeling that we are together in this journey for working with patients.
रोहित मसीह जी का क्वेश्चन एक्नॉलेज कर रहा हूँ, इंसुलिन वर्सेस ओएडी। एंड मसीह साहब अलाउ करें कि अगले कुछ हफ्तों में वील टेक दिस अप। एक्चुअली आफ्टर 4 days वी हैव अनदर टॉपिक ऑन डायबिटीज। हमारे पास जो गेस्ट होंगी अब अगले हफ्ते सोमवार को, शी इज one of the very few diabetes educators in Nepal. Her name is Kushal Priya Sharma. So we'll talk about insulin versus OADs then. And we'll allow Mr. Vikrant to leave. Mr. Vikrant, comments are also from Dr. Varun Garg, Mr. Man Singh, Mr. Jitendra, who thank you for your leadership. And एक और point आ रहा है कि आपकी जो leadership है, you don't talk, you actually do it. So thank you for leading by example.
Thank you very
We
much.
have
Thanks a lot for these compliments.
we have with us Pratik backstage. Pratik, would you please show a certificate of appreciation for Mr. Shrotriya?
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And then I will cherish this as a maiden show on the Pharma Talk. Thank you very much.
We will cherish it as well. And with this, I'd like to thank everyone for having been with us on this show. KK Talks रोज होता है 7 से 8 बजे, और मैं आपकी सेवा में हाजिर होता हूँ हर सोमवार और वीरवार। तो हमेशा हम डिस्कस करते हैं अलग-अलग टॉपिक्स रिलेटेड टू हेल्थ। And thanks, Mr. Vikrant, for having kick-started Pharma Talks with us. We look
Thank you
forward to
very much.
hosting you again. Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Jai Hind, everyone. Jai Hind.